I'd like to introduce my guest, Tony Denison. Thank you, Tony. Tony is on The Closer right now, and they're in their second season.
No, actually, fourth. We're about to start our fourth. We
you
just
guys
finished
are in,
our third.
You just finished your third season.
So we're about to start the fourth.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it is. It's a great show.
You're winning all kinds of awards and
and, you know, and just breaking records in terms of audience, the size of the audience for a cable network. It's insane, and it's, you know, it's good insane.
Right.
Somebody once said if we lost half of our audience, we'd still be the #1 show by leaps and bounds.
Oh my God, is that amazing?
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Well, you know, it's a good show. Yeah, you have a good cast led by Kira. The writing, the executive producer James Duff is just brilliant. Mike Robin and Greer Shepard, who are also executive producers. The three of them have put together this really wonderful working adventure, and it's, you know, it's one of these things where you think, oh man, you know, if I only had a job, and this is like one of those jobs where you go, wow, I really do have, if I only had a job. This is one of those jobs.
You know, it's interesting because life isn't always that way, you know, and it's, I know for me, like I'll see very successful people or their shows or their books and stuff on TV or film or whatever, and I think, you know, I don't think about the process that they have to go through to get to where they got to, because it looks so easy once you're there. But I know for you, you've had quite a journey, you know, in getting to where you've gotten to. And I'd like to, you know, kind of go back to the beginning of how this all started and how you thought to even become an actor and what propelled you forward and things like that.
Okay, well, how much time do we have?
Well,
let me see.
You're not that old, so.
No, I didn't ever think I could be an actor because I was petrified to get up in front of people and even, you know, talk. I was a very shy person. I still am to some degree. But I was, when I graduated from college, I was doing a whole bunch of different jobs. And I wound up becoming the editor of a newspaper. And I did this for about 1.5 years. And it was fun, you know, you feel like a big shot in the college town that I went to. It was a weekly newspaper, and, you know, and it was great. And then all of a sudden, the publisher of that paper, you know, decided that the other paper that he had further up north by Woodstock, paper in a town called Saugerties, he wanted to combine the two papers together. And so I was at a meeting where this was going to take place, and the editor of the other paper and I, his name was Don, he's a nice man, you know, older guy, and we sat down and he said, okay, only people with stock in the company can vote as to who the new editor is going to be. So Don had stock in the company. This guy, Frederick, who was the publisher, he had stock in the company, and I had none. So the vote was 2-1 in favor of Don being the new editor. And so then I found myself out of work. You know, they laid me off. And I did that for a while, and my first wife at the time said to me, you know, why don't you, you know, do something with your extra time? And because I was playing a lot of chess at the time. I was like a chess champion, so I was doing that, and, you know, there's not a lot of money in chess, no matter how good you are. And so she said, you know, why don't you take a acting class, or I mean, why don't you take a continuing education class at the college, just for the hell of it, a class you never took before you graduated. So I looked in the brochure, and there were two things that caught my eye. One was photography, and the other one was acting. I didn't want to buy a camera, so I thought, you know what? My mom always said to me that, you know, I'm like the greatest storyteller that ever lived, and I would make a great actor. So I thought, let me try it. You know, what the heck? So I went to the class, and it was about like 15, 20 people in the class. The other people who were in the class were really in New Paltz, where I went to college. The neighboring town is called Poughkeepsie. And it's like Fishkill is also there, which is the corporate headquarters for, other than Armonk, corporate headquarters for IBM. So all these people who work in IBM, you know, are all involved in the local theater, community theater. And they all wanted to take this class just to improve their acting skills. I was there as a sort of an anomaly because it wasn't like I wanted to pursue acting. I wasn't like I was involved in any theater or anything. I just thought it might be fun. So I went to the class, and the professor of the class very quickly on, he said, you know, you really have like a presence here, you know, it's like you're not something. So I said, well, you know, all right, fine, whatever.
Well,
and
your shyness, I mean, had you been on
well, I mean, there's no
stage
audience.
at this point?
There was no
Or-
audience. It was just a
Okay,
class,
okay.
so I mean, it's just my other classmates. I mean,
Okay.
you know, and but you know, he said I really seemed like I was taking to the stage. So, and to this day, I still do things that I learned in that class.
Really?
Yeah. About like when you stand up in a chair, like, you know, to bring your right leg in and then
I don't know this.
stand up.
Do you
or
what
your left
now?
leg. Yeah, when you're sitting, if you bring your leg in
On camera.
in whatever,
In real life,
in real
okay.
life, but especially on the stage, it gives you better balance than to try to stand up straight. And you know, little things like that. But anyway,
I learned something new. That's great. Okay.
so I took this class and things were going great. And then he asked me one point if I wanted to be involved in this evening that the continuing education department was going to put on for the community. And because so many people who lived in the community were involved in the community education, continuing education thing. So there was going to be, at first there was going to be, I think, some like little musical recital, then a dance recital, then a sort of, what do they call it, impressionist art, you know, art and process, you know, progress kind of thing, and then a bigger recital with more orchestra pieces, and then an intermission, and then the last thing of the night was the scene from Death of a Salesman.
Oh, wow.
So I said, okay, fine. So the acting coach and myself he was going to be in it, and I was going to be in it. He played Biff, I played Happy, the younger brother.
Oh, gosh.
So we rehearsed and rehearsed and rehearsed and rehearsed. And then it came the night of the show.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't understand panic and fear like I experienced that night. You know, there's an old expression people say, you know, I was beside myself.
Right, right.
I was literally beside myself. I remember I looked in the mirror sitting in the dressing room, and as I was talking, the mirror just listened. You know, it wasn't like answering back.
Right.
And I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know. And the mirror's just like, you know, and I say, I got to do something. I mean, you know what? All right, I'll pull the fire alarm. You know, because I didn't want to do this. And I thought, well, if I pull the fire alarm, people are going to run out of the building and may get hurt. And I said, there's got to be a way to get out of this. And I said, I know what? I'll call in a bomb scare. Because then if there's a bomb scare, they'll come in and very orderly get the people out of the building. There won't be any panicking.
Right.
And I, you know, and the mirror's just looking at me going, you know.
Right, right.
And all of a sudden, Tony, yeah, we're ready.
Oh, my God.
This happened in 1976, and I remember it like it happened yesterday.
Right.
And I walked up to we had two cots that were supposed to be the bits. The scene, I think it's the beginning of the scene, it's the beginning of Act 2 in the play when the brothers are in the room talking about how crazy Willie Loman has become. Mm-hmm. And so we're in the room, and I remember the curtain was not quite all the way to the floor, and there was a blue light outside, people sitting in the audience. And I remember it being very cold. And then all of a sudden, the light went out, the curtain went down, and then the light went out. And it was completely pitch black. And then the curtain went up. And as the curtain went up, boom, the lights went up. Ugh. And I'm the first cue. And I have to walk from the cot to downstage left. Mm-hmm. And then there was somebody in the lighting booth who was going to play this erratic sound on a flute to represent Willie Loman yelling and going crazy downstairs. And my first line, as I walk down, I hear that thing, and I turn back at him, and I go, you hear that? You hear that? He's doing it again. Well, I remember I walked to that spot, my legs felt like tree trunks.
Right, right.
You know, and I get to the spot, and as we're waiting, the audience hears the thing, and I look back at him, and I look at the thing, and then I remember I took a deep breath before I was going to say my first line, and I felt the audience breathe with me.
Oh, my.
And I went, you hear that? You know, he's doing it again. And as I was breathing, I could feel the audience breathing with me. And then right there, in that moment, I said, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life.